Welcome back. And now we're covering the updates on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Happening in Germany, the United States has approved nearly $2.7 billion in new aid for Ukraine and its allies. That announcement was made by Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin during a meeting with fellow ministers at the U.S. Air Base in Ramstein, Germany. The U.S. has already pledged at least $13 billion in military aid for Ukraine. The Biden administration said today it had earmarked $2 billion in long-term assistance in the form of investments to bolster the security of Ukraine and 18 of its neighbors, including both NATO members and non-members, at risk of future Russian aggression. It said it would notify Congress of the aid plan. Well, in addition to the $2.7 billion for Ukraine and its allies, U.S. has approved $675 million in a weapons package for Ukraine as well. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin mentioned this during a meeting with other defense ministers at Ramstein, the air base in Germany. He said the gathering would discuss how countries can work together to train Ukrainian forces and improve their own defense industrial bases for the long haul. The latest U.S. package will include more ammunition, Humvees, and anti-tank systems.
And we must evolve as the fight evolves. In the weeks since the contact group last met, the United States has committed another $6.3 billion in security assistance to Ukraine. And yesterday, the President approved the latest tranche of U.S. assistance to Ukraine, valued up to $675 million. We established this contact group as the free world was racing to meet Ukraine's most urgent requirements. But today, this contact group needs to position itself to sustain Ukraine's brave defenders for the long haul. And that means a continued and determined flow of capability now. It means moving urgently to innovate and to push all of our defense industrial bases to provide Ukraine with the tools that it will need for the hard road ahead. The war is at another key moment. Russian forces continue to cruelly bombard Ukrainian cities and civilians with missiles and artillery fire. But Ukrainian forces have begun their counteroffensive in the south of their country. And they are integrating the capabilities that we all have provided to help themselves to fight and reclaim their sovereign territory.
Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Ukraine. He's in Kyiv, actually, and 18 other countries deemed at risk of future Russian aggression, according to state officials. Well, he's supposed to make the announcement of the over $2 billion of new U.S. military aid for Ukraine. This is Blinken's second visit to the Ukrainian capital since Russia's invasion of Ukraine happened in February. Ukraine reported progress in its efforts to retake territories seized by Russia near the second-largest city, Kharkiv. Blinken met Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba. He saw U.S. diplomats and even visited a children's hospital where he met youngsters injured from Russian bombardments. He met with staff and chatted with the young patients, where he was accompanied by the country's famous mine-detecting dog patron.
Wonderful.
EU energy ministers are set to meet today for an emergency meeting in Brussels, discussing the response to soaring energy costs, which are threatening people and businesses with ruining this winter. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen proposed measures on Wednesday to pull down rocketing gas and power prices. They include an EU price cap on Russian gas, an EU-wide cut in electricity demand, and a windfall levy on non-gas generators. EU ministers will discuss the measures during their meeting. They're not expected to formally approve any policies, but should make clear which options have stronger support, giving Brussels a steer on what should make it into the final proposals.
We aim at lowering the costs of gas, and therefore we will propose a price cap on Russian gas. Of course, the objective is here very clear. We all know that our sanctions are deeply grinding into the Russian economy with a heavy negative impact. But Putin is partially buffering through fossil fuel revenues. So here the objective is we must cut Russia's revenues, which Putin uses to finance his atrocious war in Ukraine.
I think there is still disagreement about the Russian gas price cap, because of course there is a fear that Russia might react by cutting off the gas supplies for everything now, and that is a risk for the countries that are still getting some Russian gas. So that might be a controversial item, which might actually entail a semi-sanction on Russia on gas right now.
Now, Britain's new leader, Liz Truss, capped soaring consumer energy bills for 2 years earlier today in a package to limit the economic shock of war in Ukraine that could cost the country more than £100 billion. With Britain facing a lengthy recession sparked by a near quadrupling of household energy bills, Truss set out what she described as bold and immediate action to protect consumers and businesses just 3 days after she took office. She said the new methods of supply would also be introduced, with a moratorium on fracking being dropped and a new oil and gas exploration licenses issued for the North Sea. She said average household energy bills would be held at around £2,500 a year for 2 years, staving off the expected 80% leap that was due in October that threatened the finances of millions of households and businesses.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the motion. Earlier this week, I promised I would deal with the soaring energy prices faced by families and businesses across the UK. And today I am delivering on that promise. This government is moving immediately to introduce a new energy price guarantee that will give people certainty on energy bills. It will curb inflation and boost growth. This guarantee, which includes a temporary suspension of green levies, means that from the 1st of October, a typical household will pay no more than £2,500 per year for each of the next 2 years while we get the energy market back on track. We will deliver this by securing the wholesale price for energy while putting in place long-term measures to secure future supplies at more affordable rates. We will also support all businesses, charities and public sector organisations with their energy costs this winter, offering an equivalent guarantee for 6 months. After those 6 months, we will provide further support to vulnerable sectors such as hospitality, including our local pubs. My right honourable friend, the Business Secretary, will work with business to review where this should be targeted to make sure those most in need get support. This review will be concluded within 3 months, giving businesses certainty. In the meantime, companies with the wherewithal need to be looking for ways they can improve energy efficiency and increase direct energy generation.
A French tableware maker, Duralex, whose sturdy drinking glasses are ubiquitous in schools and corporate canteens, will stop production for at least 4 months over what the CEO describes as brutal, crazy gas and electricity costs. Companies across Europe are scrambling to find ways to keep producing despite energy prices taken to record highs by the war in Ukraine. Sometimes the only solution is to stop, at least for a while. And that's what's happening to the 77-year-old household brand known in France and beyond for its glasses that rarely break and have a production number at the bottom, which school children joke is their age. A company whose turnover was on the rise this year has 6 months of stock and can continue to sell glass-made tableware and oven dishes in the meantime. But the cost of buying the energy Duralex needs for its oven to melt silica at 1,500 degrees Celsius into glass would have been doubled from October to November to impossible amounts. I have joining me now Ken Anyanwu, who's with the UTM Offshore. He joins me from Milan. Ken, I appreciate you joining me on the program today, and great to have you here. What do you make of the European Commission President's proposal to cap the price of Russian gas, knowing what impact this might have on the rest of Europe?
Thank you very much. If you can hear me.
We can.
Thank you for having me on your program. And like you mentioned, Ken Anyanwu from UTMF LNG Limited. We're in Milan attending the 2022 Gas Tech. So coming to your question, the issue of energy security and energy availability has also shadowed and overwhelmed every participant in the conference. UTMF LNG participated in most of the leadership forums they had, and these discussions centered more on how to provide gas and secure gas. For us in Nigeria, because we have a diversified source of energy, we are still using most of the unconventional ways in our homes, but to the countries in Western Europe and that rely heavily on this for the presence of gas to run their homes, to run their factories. So the availability of this gas becomes really a way of living for them. In February this year, you all are aware that Russia invaded Ukraine, and that has led to the shortage of gas across most of European nations. So the president of the European Council has come up with this program to cap the price of gas, Russian gas. And what this means in essence is you let them sell above the production price, but below the market price. So the whole idea is to restrict the amount of revenue available to the Russian president to continue to prosecute this war. And you will recall that Italy has been the country that has championed in the last couple of months to get other European nations to support this price cut. So to the thinking of the European Council, they believe that if they're able to put a cut, because they can't stop buying Russian gas, it's already flowing in the pipeline, and it cannot be diversified because of the pipeline is already structured. So the thinking is that when they put a price cap, it will limit the revenue that is going to Russia, and then they can have a rethink on the further invasion of Ukraine.
But isn't this shooting themselves in the foot? Because if they're going to put a cap on Russian gas, Russia can also decide not to distribute gas to the rest of Europe.
Yeah, that's quite correct and this position of yours has been shared with several European countries. And that's why there has been some time taken to come to this compromise. Even it's going to be a hard nut to sell to most of the nations in Europe because they feel that Russia has options. When you put a price cut, Russia can as well say, we are not selling to Europe anymore. And there are some countries that will be in a better state. So it's a position we found ourselves, and Europe is maintaining a position that they need to source for alternative to Russian gas. So in whichever direction this goes, someone is going to get hurt in whatever direction or they decide to go, because it's not going to be an easy choice for either party. Russia needs to sell their gas, and if Europe decides to place a price cap, then Russia, like they will do, they will react somehow, and someone is going to be affected by that decision. Definitely, yes.
I take it that there are no Russian representatives or Russian gas company representatives at that conference that you're at in Milan. So I'm wondering, when you talk about options, what kind of discussions are you having around the options that are open to European countries, as they also try to seek a way out of this? Because the winter months are coming. They're really going to be needing that gas.
Yeah, you are quite correct. You just spoke as if you've been in this conference. I mean, We didn't see, Russia did not participate in this conference, neither at a representative level or their companies. We didn't see of them. But coming to options that are open to Europe, Europe is paying the price for neglecting Africa for so long. The distance, we have the shortest distance to moving gas to Europe. But what has happened was that Europe failed to take the advantage that Africa provided. Africa has a lot of gas resources that can meet this shortfall that is coming from Russia, that should have come from Russia. As of today, Europe requirement is about 125 billion scoop of gas. That is what Europe is getting from Russia. So Africa has in excess to fill this gap. But what has happened? This conflict will bring it to the forefront that Europe should have taken Africa more seriously before now. If not, they are busy looking at America. They are looking at getting gas from America to close the gap. But right now, Africa presents, and when we talk about Africa, Africa has huge, enormous resources. And when you talk about Africa, we're indeed talking about Nigeria. As of today, there are about 204 TCF of proven gas in Nigeria. And these are gas that we have as a result of oil operations. And if we go deeper to look for gas, we could have as well as over 600. And that is what we in UTM FLNG are doing. We are taking the bold step by being the first indigenous company in Africa to take this bold step to harness our gas resources, to monetize it, and bring it to the forefront. Because we are talking about 2022. You don't even know what will be the position by 2023, 2024. We need to start doing something now. The government has to step in, give the enabling environment, support UTM entirely. And we thank the government they've done so far. We thank NNPC. We thank the regulators. They've been very, very fantastic in their support, in supporting UTM to achieve what they're achieving so far. So in answering your question, the hope and the look ahead for Europe to bridge this gap is Africa, and Africa is Nigeria. And Nigeria, what is happening about the Trend 7, the next big thing that is happening is the UTM FLNG.
Well, I'm not sure that your company is the only one that's trying to help, the rest of the world at this time. I know that a number of European leaders have been in Africa. The French president was in Benin Republic. He was in Guinea, beg your pardon. He was also, in some other African countries as well. The Russian foreign secretary was also in Africa as well. Most recently, the Polish president this week was in Nigeria, and he met with President Buhari. He also indicated interest in Nigeria's oil and gas as well. So to say that Europe has neglected Nigeria and the rest of Africa, you might be right up until this point. But then how do we go forward on this? And I want you to speak generally now, not just about UTM, but, the rest of Africa, Nigeria especially. How much of an advantage can we really take, in this situation?
All right. Thank you very much for that. And just to add, the French president was also in Algeria. You missed that out.
Right,
now,
missed that.
You can, yeah, thank you. So you can ask why they renewed interest in Africa, Thona. Gas is not like any other natural resources. It is quite capital intensive. It takes long time to mature. So you are talking about coming at this time. There's a stop. We are talking about the stopgap measures and the long-term measures. Now, Europe is bothering about energy security and energy availability. They need to deal with a short-term program, and that is what we are in now. And if you see them coming to Africa, yes, they are going to where these gases, because they have a problem. Winter is approaching. Russia is starving them of gas. They need to get to stop a stopgap, an interim measure. But again, we are focused as a country to the long term. And when I talk about Africa, Nigeria is number one in Africa, and we are talking about in the long term. what Nigeria need to do to position themselves. Imagine a situation if 6 years ago, Nigeria has positioned, or Africa positioned themselves with pipelines. Look at the Trans-Sahara gas pipeline that's been on the drawing board for ages. And this meant to move the Nigerian gas all the way through Niger, Mali, up to Algeria for onward transportation to Spain. It's about 4,400 kilometers of pipeline. As I speak to you, it's still in the drawing board. I'm not even sure they've done the engineering drawing of this. This is the time to take advantage. We don't have to wait for tomorrow. We don't have to wait for another invasion. So what you see the European nations that they are doing now, they are looking for the stop limit. And the future, and which is some of the conclusions of the conference we just attended recently in Milan, everybody agrees that the future to utilizing some of these gas that is stranded in Nigeria is using the floating FLNG. So when I talk about that, that's where everybody is looking at, because it is fast, it is not as cumbersome as the conventional FLNG, and we have a lot of stranded gas, which we need to monetize. So Nigeria needs to take advantage of this situation. And in fact, we view Nigeria more as a gas nation than an oil nation. So that is my position. We should take that advantage to position ourselves for tomorrow.
Anyanwu, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you, and thank you for posturing Nigeria so well during the discussions in Milan. We wish you all the best. Hope you come back with good results.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.